You're listening to Come Curious.
From music to OnlyFans with Kate Nash.
Oh my god. Kate, welcome to the podcast.
Woo, Kate fucking Nash. Thank you so much for coming on the pod. As we mentioned before, this is the cursed episode, but we're here. And we have been so excited to have you on this podcast. It's crazy.
We've had blue balls, actually. Like, they've been bulging, swelling up, you know, like
this has been
really
the edging of all episodes, and now we're just
really
at the rage part with just like, okay, just let me fucking come now. I'm ready.
Let's fucking do it.
Yeah. So I'm actually kind of curious how you would introduce yourself these days.
I think I always introduce myself as a musician first. That feels like the core of me, I guess. But yeah, I've done like so many things now in my career. I've acted, done bits of activism, and I think like this new kind of era of being on OnlyFans, and I suppose why we're like, you know, talking today is also really to do with activism. But like, I guess it's like being creative and being a performer.
Yeah, being an artist is like all encompassing. Yeah.
Artiste.
There's always a little bit of activism involved in being an artist, I feel. But yeah, me and Reed were talking before you hopped on about the fact that you pretty much were our teenage girl anthem.
Oh my God.
Like early 20s.
Like, back in
we
the
were
day.
both obsessed, very much big fans.
Oh, that is so cool.
You know, like the teenage yearning years of like being in your first relationships and you're like in the car on a road trip with your family, and your dad puts on the album and you're like looking out the window and the rain's speckled down and you're listening to Foundations. That's
just like I'm so complicated and so deep.
You know what? It's like, it's so true, because that album is such a good entry point for young people to my music. And like, I see it over the years. Obviously, when I started, it was all people like my age, basically, because I was like 17, 18. And now that I'm 37, there's still like 17, 18-year-olds at the front of my shows. And I did some in-store performances last year that were really interesting, because I was meeting like parents that, you know, were around my age that had like teenage daughters and stuff like that. And even people that were teenagers on my third record that were like pregnant now. And there's like this really cool, like generational thing happening. And I think that's one of the special things about doing something for a long time, is it gets a little bit richer. But yeah, Made of Bricks, I think, is always going to be that album for like young people going through those things for the first time. Like, it just is that feeling, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It feels like circle of life.
Yeah, it's like you have to go through it, you know.
So that kind of leads us on to potentially talking about your OnlyFans.
OnlyFans. Tasty.
And like,
that's my other website. It's just
OnlyFans. That would actually, I bet people have a kink for that. I bet.
Oh, there's
people
for
like,
sure. It'd be like flan sitting, like fanny on flan. There would just be so much going on there.
God, fan on plan.
Yeah, fan on plan.
Wow, we've found the next content stream for you. For your So how did this all start? Where did the curiosity for kind of this type of sex work come from?
I'm on tour, I'm putting out a record, and the music industry is built on very unethical practices. And I'm like very happily like on a new indie label that I love. I have management that for the first time ever is like decent management, like really good managers. My team is honestly like the best. And I've really been through the dumpster of like, I've had money stolen from me. I've been dropped by labels. I've had all of the creepy, sharky, like music industry stories like over the years. And finally my team's awesome. And I'm putting out a record, and like, then I'm going to promote it. And it's the music industry is so broken that it's like so difficult to put on a high quality show, because the other thing is I am choosing to go like, I don't want to fire my band. Like, I am going to pay them well, and I'm going to bring crew, and I'm like, you know, I want to bring a lighting engineer and a sound engineer so my show looks and sounds good. I mean, I'm not doing like pyrotechnics. We're putting up a backdrop and lights, but even the basics of like crew and band and paying people well costs thousands a day to do. And it just starts to make you feel like, God, this, like they used to say, because you know, like streaming is worth, well, our recorded music is worth so little now. And then everyone would be like, oh, you make your money on touring. And now that's not the case. And I was like, losing so much money on tour and going on a North American tour, which I was anticipating. I saved money to lose. But then when you're actually losing it, and I do feel touring is a bit like building where you're like, it's going to be this much. And then you're like, we're losing how much? Like, what? Like, okay, it's way more than you thought. And I just felt that pressure. There was just these 5 days in between a European tour. I had to let go of a crew member, which I felt so bad about, like short notice. It's like, I just cannot like take any more like losses. And I was like, for me, like I'm selling tickets. I'm a known artist. Like I'm not just deluded and like no one's coming to my shows. Like this is going really well. And what, and if it's like this for me, like how is anyone going to like enter this industry? Like I think after years of just taking so much shit from the music industry, I'm old enough now and confident enough as well to just be like, fuck this. Like I'm going to speak up. And actually, I mean, this is the longest answer ever, by the way, but at the beginning, this is what I'm like. I'm really difficult to edit. But at the beginning of the year, I was like, be good, Kate. Like, just for once in your life, like, shut your mouth. Like, don't have a fucking opinion. You've got a team, like, just be good. And at the end of the year, I'm like getting my ass out and being like, fuck everyone.
I love that, though. If you enjoyed that snippet of the podcast, you can support us.
Head to Patreon to watch ad-free, uncensored episodes.